We're going to be talking about modifying nouns in this video tutorial. There are many ways to give extra information about nouns. In other words, modify nouns. We already know 3 of them. The first is where we simply add a noun to another noun to give more information about it. For example, here we have hong, meaning book. Now we're going to give extra information about that book. We're going to say that the book is of Japan. So we're going to simply add Japan in front of the book. We're going to join it with particle no, since that's the way we join 2 nouns. And we get Nihon no hon, or book of Japan. Another way of expressing that is Japanese book. So that's the first way. The next way is to add an adjective. There are 2 types of adjectives. The first is the I adjective group. And I'm going to give an example of an I adjective. Omoshiroi. They end in I. Thus we call them I adjectives, and they stand directly in front of the noun we're modifying without any particle in between. So we get omoshiroi hon, an interesting book. The third way is to add an adjective in the na adjective group. Now these adjectives, unlike I adjectives, can end in anything. This one I'm using here, yumei, famous, does happen to end in an I, but it doesn't have to. Now, to link a na adjective with a noun, you have to use the particle na. So you get yumei na hon, a famous book. So those are the 3 ways that we're familiar with. But we can also use verbs and even small sentences ending in verbs to give more information about a noun, or in other words, to modify a noun. We call these small sentences modifying clauses. A modifying clause ends in a verb, but it must be in the plain form. It stands in front of the noun which it modifies, just like the other 3 kinds of modifiers. So in English, we say, the book which I bought. In Japanese, we say, the I bought book. And of course, we don't need to use the or I. They're assumed in Japanese, so we just say, bought book. So in English, the book which I bought becomes in Japanese, the bought book, or the book which I bought at the shop. So it's the same kind of thing, but we're just making our modifying clause a little longer. In Japanese, that would be the I bought at the shop book. There it is, the I bought at the shop book. Now, of course, in Japanese, you don't need to use pronouns like I, and you don't need to say the. So what we're left with is bought at shop book. And in Japanese, that becomes mise de, at the shop, kaimashita, bought. We now have to change kaimashita into the plain past form. So that becomes mise de katta. And then we add hon, book. Mise de katta hon. If you want to say who did the buying, or whatever the verb is in your modifying clause, then you use particle ga to indicate that person. So if it was your friend who bought the book at the shop, then it would be tomodachi ga mise de katta hon. The book which my friend at the shop bought. So how does it work? We've now got a noun, hon, with a modifying clause, tomodachi ga mise de katta, and that now acts as a single noun unit. Now, before we use this, let's just make a very simple sentence with hon on its own. So we will just remove the modifying clause for a moment. We don't need that yet. And we're going to take hon and make a sentence Very, very simple. I like books. So hong, ga is the particle that tells us that's what we like. Then we need ski, like or likable. And we finish our sentence with des. Very simple sentence. Hong ga ski desu. We're now going to change this simple sentence, I like books, hong ga ski desu, into a more complicated sentence with more information about hong. In fact, we're going to say that we like books or the book which my friend bought at the shop. Now the way we're going to do it is we're going to just pop that part of the sentence there, because we need to make a little bit of room in front of our hong to add our modifying clause. So there's our book. Here's the person who bought it. 友達が店で買った本が好きです。So now we don't just like books, we like books specifically which my friend bought at the shop. So if you want to use a noun with a modifying clause, make sure that first of all you construct your simple sentence without the clause and then add that in at the end. That way you can turn any simple sentence into a much more impressive, complex sentence using a modifying clause. 頑張って